Tanis Horner, the guy who took the life of that sweet little girl, Athena Strand, back in 2022. Someone asked me in one of my videos what my thoughts were on it, so I wanted to take a moment and express my thoughts on the situation with, Tanner Horner. If you don't know who Tanner Horner is, he's the guy who was the FedEx driver who took the life of the little girl. And there's this haunting image that's displayed across all social media streams and all avenues of, television, computers, laptops, phones. It's everywhere. The news on the radio stations is painting a picture of this haunting image of the little girl, sweet little Athena, and that image where she's standing in the bed or the back part of the FedEx truck while the savage demon Tanner is contemplating what his next move is going to be. And I don't know what to say about this case other than why has it taken so long for the judicial system to carry out justice. This dude took this little girl's life in 2022. We're in 2026. Why is he still breathing? That's my thoughts. I believe in capital punishment. As an ex-convict and as someone who served about a decade in prison, and I was in and out of prison, and I deserved to be in prison. My punishment fit my crimes. You don't hear me complaining about it. Prison actually turned me into the decent man that I am today, because while I was in prison, I did a bunch of self-reflecting and soul searching to come to the conclusion that the way I was living was trash and I was trash. So I looked in the mirror and said, something's got to give, something's got to change. And I changed who I was. But let me tell you something. When you have a man like Tanner Horner, you don't get no change. There ain't no change. What he did to that little girl is reprehensible. And like I said, I don't have words. I didn't plan on covering this case on my channel. I tend to stick to the unusual and unique crime and prison. I don't have any words, man, for what happened to this little girl. When I look at images and pictures of her, and when I see her parents on the stand, and when I think about what exactly happened from the facts that I know about the case, I haven't followed this case extensively, but I know enough about it to where I'm sitting here thinking, what's taking so long with the jury? What's taking so long with the jury? Let's get this thing carried out. This man said he did what he did. He pleads guilty. He's not disputing what he did. He took the life of a 7-year-old girl. And we're still debating in a courtroom on what should happen to this man. Dang, man. We should have gave him as much time as he gave Athena, as he sat there in that truck and contemplated what he was going to do with that little girl. We should give him about as equal amount of time as he gave her. We gave him since 4 years to sit inside the county jail and eat and breathe and think when Athena's gone. She's been gone for 4 years. And this fool been taking taxpayers' money, Texas taxpayers' money. I believe Texas is going to get it right. I believe they're going to execute this man. But I believe he's going to sit on death row for another decade before they carry out his execution. Maybe Tanner will do the one decent thing in life that I think he can do, and that is waiver all appeals and waiver all his rights to any appeal process to expedite his execution. That's the one good thing that he could do. Own up and get on the stand and say, Your Honor, let's get this execution underway. And see, the state of Texas can choose to say, hey, look, we ain't all that bad. You want us to strap you down to old Sparky, the electric chair, do you want us to fry you until your head explodes? Or do you want us to inject you with some poison until you gurgle and gag and cough up and spit up the food that you've been eating in our prisons paid for by the taxpayers? Or would you like us to put you in a gas chamber while you try to hold your breath and you start snotting and spitting everywhere until you breathe your last breath? Or we're even going to give you an option. We're going to be really humane. Would you like to take the option of a firing squad and you take one right here, right there in the heart? We're going to hit them both times. And it's pretty much instantaneous. And I don't want to hear nothing about any of these options, about this man feeling pain. How do you think little Athena felt? Not just the physical pain, the emotional pain, the abandonment, the fear that she went through. I don't care how he feels, nor should you. And if you do, you're part of the problem. And don't tell me anything about religion or Christianity that we shouldn't have an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, because you're telling a lie. We have a responsibility to defend the most innocent and vulnerable people in our society, such as 7-year-old little girls. We have responsibility. We have a responsibility to tell the rest of society, if you do this to a 7-year-old little girl, we will carry out an execution, an expedient. We're gonna be like Speedy Gonzalez. We're gonna do this thing quick. And if anybody else does this, this is what you're gonna get as well. It's been too long. That's my thoughts on the situation. I think the man should be dead by now, but he's still breathing. I think in all likelihood, he's gonna sit on death row for more years while the social justice warriors and attorneys and the nonprofits come rally to his aid. And you're even going to have a couple of lunatics who picket and protest outside the prison for this man's rights. He ain't got no rights. You don't get rights when you kill a 7-year-old child. You don't got no more rights. Rights is gone because you didn't think about her rights. How's this hard to understand? Why are we talking about this when this dude should be gone? That's what I think about it, man. That's what I think about the piece of trash, Tanner Horner, who's 34. When I look at this dude, it angers me, and it should anger you too, to know what he did. But I live in America, and we vote for a lot of our judges, and a lot of our judges are put in positions from people we vote for. It goes before, House committees and state levels and federal levels, and then they put judges in place. And we vote for laws, and these judges and these congressmen and congresswomen approve these laws. If you don't like the laws that are governing your land, well, start voting accordingly. And I think society has had about enough of criminal rights when victims are losing more rights every single day. Criminals, I'm an ex-convict, man. I advocate for victims. I don't advocate for criminals who cry and complain inside a prison system about this food tray ain't the tray that I wanted. I can't believe they're feeding me like this. Man, feed yourself, punk. That's paid for by the state taxpayers. You better be grateful and look in the freaking mirror and know this is as healthy a meal as you're going to get. Welcome to America. You still get 3 hots in a cot. They got to feed you. You might not like it, but compared to what some people are eating in prisons in the other parts of the world, you're doing pretty doggone good. That's like a gourmet meal. Try eating prison in Madagascar prison. I've talked to a couple people who done time, or knows people who done time in Siberian prisons. They don't even eat. They just sit there, work, and die. So before you start complaining, I know somebody who did a little bit of time in Jamaica. He said 3 times a day, porridge, 1 scoop. That's what he got. Man, I'm telling you, man. This dude been sitting down eating 3 meals, 3 hots in a cot. punk, Tanner Horner. Dude even admitted he's guilty, man. Shouldn't we just take him out back and just drop one right in the dome? Boom! You know what I mean? And then toss him in a landfill somewhere? Nah, we gonna allow his family to grieve and bury him. That's what a graceful society does and a merciful society does. Other countries, you don't get that right. In the old days, you didn't even get that right, not even here in America. But we've built a judicial system in a land of laws and governance that allow people dignity when they don't deserve dignity. This dude, he don't deserve no dignity. He didn't show dignity to a 7-year-old girl. And now her family, you want me to tell you what else I think about this? When I think about a case like this, I think about the family. You know, they haven't moved on from this. It's been 4 years, I promise you. From what I read in the case, the father and the stepmother wear a heavy burden on their hearts and on their backs every single day. I think they should be released from that burden, but the grieving process is hard. And when you lose a 7-year-old and you feel like you missed the mark, even though it wasn't your fault because this savage demon snuck his way in via FedEx truck. And this ain't FedEx's fault neither. This is Tanner's fault. Now, technically speaking, he worked for FedEx. I think the family should have some, liability claims against FedEx because he was their employee. And at the end of the day, even though I think FedEx shouldn't be held responsible for the death of this poor little girl because that falls squarely on the shoulders of Tanner Horner, FedEx did employ him. He was a representative, a representation of their company, and he committed this crime while on the clock. So the family should be able to file a lawsuit against FedEx. I'm trying to cover everything because I wasn't going to cover this video. So I'm trying to hit on all the points and all my thoughts as I think about this. And at the end of the day, the only thought I have is why is he still breathing and what's taking so long? But I respect the judicial system and I respect the 12 men and women who represent the jury. They have a hard decision to make, and I don't want to look past that. For me, it would be an easy decision because it would be pretty much let's get him executed. But I understand the rules that govern the jury, and the judge and the state is asking the jury to go over all the facts and figures, look at them, and then determine a sentence based on all the evidence that you see. So that means they have to sit in there and discuss every piece of evidence. They have to discuss all the statements given, all the witness statements, all the defense statements, whatever they're remotely possibly could be. The jury still has to consider it because that's their job. And I respect the judicial process of the jury. So they're going to convict him and send him to death because that's what he deserves and that's what he wants. And so that's my thoughts on Tanner Horner. But I would also like to say that in a case like this, where it just came to the public forefront, where people are just starting to notice what happened with poor little Athena Strand, we didn't know about this. A lot of people weren't talking about this until the trial because they're just starting to release the video footage and all that. It's like when we find out about this stuff, we get in uproar. I'm in an uproar every day because I know it's happening. There's cases that I don't even know about. That's why you'll always hear me say, if you've been watching The Pen and the Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube, you know that I always say that, listen, victims rights. And so I know today, somewhere in America, somebody is being made a victim even as we speak. And we often turn our interest to other things unless it's plastered all over the news. I recognize victims all the time. I'm a small channel. I'm a one-man show. I do the best I can. And if you watch this channel, you know I stand up for victims. You know I don't make excuses for criminals. And I know there's varying levels of criminals too. And this dude is the bottom of the barrel. He's the worst of the worst. You can't get no worse than this dude right here. You can't get no worse than Tanner Horner. You cannot get no worse. He's hit the worst level. Give me a like and subscribe. Comment what you think about Tanner Horner. Should he get death or should he get life in prison without parole? I think they should let Athena's family choose his sentence. That seems like it would be just. He took her from them, so they should have a right to choose his sentence. That's my thoughts. Whatever the sentence may be. Bring you out back and behead you. Bring you out back and stone you. Bring you out back and toss you in a pit full of fire ants until you ain't nothing but bones. It's whatever they choose. That's what justice is. But we're a merciful nation. So think about that. We show mercy and grace. And even as I sit here and say, I support America because it has the best governance system ever set up in the history of the world. So me and you, if we run into a problem, we get an opportunity for a trial. But once the trial's over with and somebody receives death and the evidence is, you can't argue it. The sentence needs to be carried out quickly. I think he should be executed as soon as he gets the death sentence in a couple days. Really, technically speaking, it should be that the next day. When the sun comes up against her, you about to get the voltage shot through your body until your head explodes. You understand? That's what's going to happen to you, boy. That's it. I mean, he had time to sit in jail and reflect on life. Not Athena. So that's my thoughts on this. And I'm just sharing them from the top of my head because a viewer asked me about it and now I'm responding. And I don't know if I'm going to cover this case again. I just don't know what else there is to say except rest in peace, sweet little Athena. Rest in peace, sweet girl. And I hope that you are in a place to where you are experiencing joy in heaven. And you're smiling. And you're laughing. And you're running free. And I'm sorry that this happened to you. That's what I say. And I can't imagine the grief that her family's going through. But I sit here and pray and hope that her family can heal and get to a place to where they can enjoy life again and smile again, because I believe that's what Athena would want for her family. But I know it's hard, and I get it. I get there's a vast array of emotions: anger, fear, doubt, worry, grief, sadness, joy. I mean, I can't imagine what they're experiencing. I just can't. But I'm sympathetic to it. I'm not sympathetic to the man who did this. Let's get him executed ASAP.